in a DVD that or a CD that I'd been hearing that Peter Rhodes did, he talked about in asking God to take away problems through this like 12-step program that you had to ask about specific thoughts and feelings. So I asked Peter, what was that about? And he gave me this on why specificity helps.
Well, I guess one analogy I say is if you take your car to a dealer, you can say, give it a oil and lube and a general thing, and that's nice. But if you start to have problems, you hear a knocking or something like that, you take it in, they have to identify a particular problem. Well, what are you here for? Well, I don't know. Just trying to figure it out. No, what are you here for? Well, it sounds like my transmission and my car keeps jumping. And okay, so now we have to identify the problem. When you've identified the problem, you haven't solved the problem. But that's a first step. So in terms of regeneration or the 12 steps, it's, well, yeah, I know you're powerless and your life has become unmanageable. When you start to experience that, you might want to take that opportunity to really listen to your transmission so that you can identify it is the transmission. It's making a knocking sound. When I hit 40 miles an hour, it tends to hesitate. So in a 12-step process, it's what thoughts are you having when you're in an argument or a resentful attitude towards your wife? What are the thoughts you're having? What are the feelings you're having? Those are the thoughts and those are the feelings that you're asking God to take because they're comprised of your will and replace it with His will. So it's just being very specific, and that's the last thing I believe the evil spirits want you to do. They want you to think that person's making you angry. Well, when that person appears to make you angry, what are your thoughts? Well, he pulled into that parking spot. He knew I wanted that parking spot. And, they're all that way. I know what those young people are like. They just have no respect anymore. Okay, write down all those thoughts, all those feelings. Would you be willing to give up those thoughts and those feelings? Those thoughts and those feelings don't want to give you up. They manifest through you. Would you be willing to have your higher power remove them from you? There's a certain pleasure of insanity to be so right and they're so wrong and all that. Would you be willing to sacrifice that? So now you get really specific. And when I do this and identify it, I also identify the pleasure I have from being angry or irritable. And then it gets down, which pleasure do you want? The pleasure of insanity or the delights of wisdom that God can bring to you if you're willing to have that taken from you and made quiescent. So it really brings you to the question. And now you can, in fact, ask God to do something specific, and you'll be asked to give up that particular thought. I had went to the day with my wife. She was telling me some things, and I just had this snide remark come up, that 5 years ago I would have made. And it's just, I observe it. I don't want that will. And that will really wanted to come out of my mouth. But I really don't want it. And when I didn't follow that, she was so excited and she gave me a big hug and everything. And I just see how destructive, because those thoughts and those feelings are the manifestation of the hells within your mind and within your heart that want to come out of your mouth or out of your actions. So you see it right there, and that's where you see that, I really need my higher power or God to remove this, because I left myself do love this, and I like to make my wife wrong. That didn't help my relationship a whole lot, but that's what I like. But God doesn't like that. God likes to support my wife. And then when my wife is supported, the pleasure I get from her being supported, which really God brought about, I get to experience as if it's my own. So that's not only do you get the benefit of improved relation in life, you get a personal relationship with God in the moment temptations, not in generalities.
Awesome. So, that says it all, and that's all we're going to say.